So I'm going to start with the first 2.5 pounds of clay. And it's really, really important when you're throwing in sections and stacking clay on top of clay that you throw perfectly on center. So you're going to want this skill set because it forces you into a framework of doing things with excellence. And I'm a believer in that. Here we go. All right, so took a little minute there, got it on center. Now I'm pushing down in and opening this cylinder up. When I open clay, I like a funnel shape because it's easier to move the clay out than if you just go straight in. So now I'm going to bring this clay back towards myself, and I'm going to have this opened about 3 inches across on the inside. But you need to assess your own hand when you do this. I have a pretty narrow hand, and so it's easy for me to get in and out. If your hand is wider, open it up a little wider. You probably won't get quite as tall, but still, while you're learning, you want to make this really conducive to success. So I'm compressing the floor a little bit. Look for my needle tool, there it is. And I have just a smidge under 1/4 of an inch, which is fantastic. And now I'm just going to bring this clay inward by choking a little bit. And then I'm going to squeeze this clay and let the outsides of my hands bring it up while I'm squeezing it. And I'm looking for a straight line on the inside of my cylinder. That's how I set up for my first pull. And now it's time. So when you're stacking clay, you're not going to throw this thin. You're going to leave it somewhere around maybe even 1/2 inch thick, because when you stack it on top of each other, you need it to be really solid, especially when you're learning. I've set up my pull, and here I come up. My inside fingers are pushing out just a little bit so I can see where I'm working. I'm lightening up my pull at the top because I don't want it too thin here. Now I'm just going to give it a little slight compression and do it one more time to get the majority of the weight out of the bottom of this cylinder. So this is 2.5 pounds, and I'm getting ready to take a yardstick or a measuring stick and tell you exactly what the diameter is and what the height is. I'm going to compress just a little bit with this metal rib so it's good and strong when I put the second stack of clay on top of it. Okay, so let me get a little bit of a yardstick. Here we go. So the height right now is 6.5 inches, and the inside diameter is 3 1/4, and the outside is 4 1/4 and a smidge more. So these walls would be a little bit more than 1/2 inch wide, and that's a good thing. So now I'm going to pick up this water off of the bat, like that. I'm going to mark where I'm taking it out of my bat system, because when you start throwing in sections, you need to go back in the same bat pins or back in the same place of your production system. So now here's my second piece of clay, and I am going to center this up, open it all the way down to the bat. It has to be an open cylinder to stack on top of the other cylinder. So I'm pushing my thumb down all the way till I touch the floor. And now I'm picking my wheel speed up and bringing that clay back toward myself. And I want the diameter on the floor there to be a little bit narrower than the 3 inches. Now I'm going to compress that clay and bring it up. It's really important we throw this on center in order to have success. I'm pushing up under there while my inside hand holds the floor, and then they're moving up together with my inside hand just a little bit above my outside hand. And I'm setting up a pull again, and up I go. I think 2 to 2.5 pounds is a wonderful amount of clay to start with to practice stacking. This is a technique you will use for the rest of your life. I'm setting up again, and up I go. So if I get this at 1/2 inch, it should be a little taller than the other cylinder because there's no floor. So I'm going to give it one more pull. You don't want a lot of weight down here because that's going to be at the top when I turn it over and attach it on. There we go. Up I go, up I go, up I go. Look how close together those throwing rings are. That is a beautiful pull. Choke that in just a smidge. And now I'm kind of just pretending I'm pulling because I don't want this to get any thinner. I'm going to take a rib, a metal rib, and compress all the way to the top. Now I'm going to measure and see if I need to make any adjustments. It was 4 1/4 and a little smidge, and that looks like it's just right on. Now let me tell you what the height is. The height is 7 inches, and the outside diameter is 4 1/4 and a smidge, and the inside diameter is a smidge over 3 1/4. So I am in good shape to put these two pieces together. But before I lift it up, I want to remove this little skirt right there. And I want to give myself a little doorway for my cutting wire, because it's important when you're throwing in sections that you do a really good job cutting it off the bat. So now I'm going to pick this up, set it aside, and grab this one and put it back on because this is the base. And I'm very intentional to put my marked space into the hole where I picked it up. Now, I'm not going to score these. I have learned that I can just put them together without any scoring. So I'm going to line it up. If you use too much water, your cylinder will go into an oval when you flip it over. I should have mentioned it earlier, but be careful you don't get these cylinders too wet. You're asking a lot of them. All right, that's a beautiful cutaway. Now look what we have. And it's probably a little wobbly. I'm going to just come right here and with 2 fingers, one at the bottom and one at the top, braced against my body, I'm holding center. Now I'm going to come up to the top and do the same thing and catch center right here. So if I have center here and here, I'm on my way. So now the next thing that you want to do is work this clay back and forth through the join. So I'm going to come just below the join and with a medium wheel speed, and my finger on the inside is just pressed against the join like a rib, and I'm just pulling up to it and pulling down to it. Pull down a little more to it and into the join and stop. Because what's happening is I'm making that clay one. This right here is just where my knuckle is pushing the clay outward while I'm doing it. So I can just bring that right back in. And now I'm going to come below the join and pull through it, above it, and down into it, and below it. And what happens is eventually you don't even know where your join is. I'm choking this in a little, and from right here, I'm just going to hold center and hold center every revolution around. I'm holding center, holding center. If it looks a little soft for you right there, and it does for me, I'm just going to take my rib and compress it. You see that? And you're thinking, gosh, that is tricky business, but actually clay likes clay. I'm gonna choke this in a little. I'm gonna come right here and choke this whole cylinder that's the top half of this pot. I'm gonna come below the join. I'm pulling through the join and up I go. Now I'm gonna pick my wheel speed up. I have found that if you have a rapid wheel speed after you've created your join, not top speed of the wheel, but a nice even middle speed, it keeps you from getting a twist in the bottom, in the middle of your cylinder. Okay, up I go, up I go, up I go. Remember, when you're doing a cylinder, there needs to be a little pressure inward or your cylinder will move outward because of the centrifugal force of the wheel. So now I'm going to put my arm all the way down to the base and I'm going to bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, full revolutions around. Don't move so fast that you haven't gotten all the way around in the full revolution, because what will happen is your pot will go off center, and when you get to the top, it's going to be really wobbly and uneven. Man, I just didn't do a good job right there, so I'm just going to go back down to it. Here we go, and up, pushing inward a little so it doesn't go out like a bowl. The centrifugal force of the wheel is going to make it want to go out. So now I'm going to compress again. I'm going to choke this in just a little bit right here and bring it up. And what we have is a cylinder made from two pieces, and its height now is 14 inches and it's 5 pounds. So, and it's a ½ inch thick. So now I'm ready to make a pot. I hope you'll try this. It's a lot of fun. Don't get discouraged if it takes a lot of tries. That's the thing about pottery. It's a challenge, but it's always a fun one.